So in this one, real quick, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to go back again through the transformations for a logarithm. So we will practice on graphing one, but it's also very important to understand what the transformations are going to be. So if I have a log, my example of my graph or properties, now we're not dealing with properties, we're going to be dealing with graphing. Well, it was already up there, I just erased it. But now if we're going to be dealing with graphing, there's just a couple things I want to make sure you guys remember just about with our graphs. First of all, we already talked about the logarithmic graph. The parent graph looks something like this, right? And that's y equals log base b of x. But now we need to go ahead and remember what exactly are going to be our reflections and our changes and so forth. So when looking at this, remember if we have a is being multiplied by our function, right? So if we're multiplying a negative by our function, therefore we're going to reflect the x or the y-axis. Does anybody remember? The y. Thank you for the raising your hand. Yes, you're actually going to reflect the x-axis. Thank you for raising your hand for that. So yes, make sure you reflect over the x-axis when your a is going to be negative. Then we go through the h. Since you're subtracting your h inside the function, we're going to be applying the opposite direction. And since you're subtracting inside the function, you're going to be shifting. Well, that's not what you need to be doing right now. Left and right, exactly. Then your k, what you guys are going to be doing is going to be shifting your graph up and down. And if you multiply by a negative number inside the function, does anybody remember what you do? What will that reflect? That reflects the y-axis. Okay? So if you have multiplying by a negative inside the function, that's going to reflect the y-axis. When you multiply by a negative outside the function, that reflects the x-axis. All right? So those are just going back to your basic transformations. If you guys remember, this is very similar to what you've already done with quadratics. It's the same thing we've already done with exponential, and so forth. So now let's just go and do an example. Yes?